All right, and part 3. So, any context at this point, or are we still just rolling with it?
Nah, just give them a little bit of time to explain.
Ruffians? I've got to fight them.
Were those land sharks?
They are indeed land sharks. And here's Saki being a crazy bolt
Warning
monster thing. I don't know.
Look out! Get back!
Pretty sure chunks of his leg are missing.
See, what this really shows is that his pants weren't poofy, they were actually skin tight. His flesh is poofy.
That's gross. What the
Yes.
hell was that?
That's a land shark.
That's a lot bigger than a land shark.
Yep.
Like,
Also, you can't kill them. I've tried. But yeah, this part's actually not that hard. This is where the game starts to get really boss heavy. And here's our first one. It's a giant fire octopus.
it doesn't look as hard as some of the other portions of the game.
Dude, it scales really, really harshly. By the way, this fire octopus is really easy so long as you remember to just spam your sword in his face. I completely forgot that until pretty much right here. I was trying to like avoid his head and fired his tentacles, but if you just spam his head, it's way easier. Also, when they close their jaws, they're a little bit bigger than they look, so make sure you're a little bit farther away from them than you think.
Oh yeah, I barely got that life.
Also, here's the docs from Chapter 2.
Is this a racetrack?
No, it's just like a store in the middle of nowhere.
Wait, are they in America?
No, Hokkaido.
Oh.
Apparently, this is like the center of the epidemic, or so they say in like a couple minutes. By the way, this boss fight is actually really cool, although not very interesting. Because first you fight it outside, and then you fight it like you fight this thing like 3 or 4 times, and each time it completely changes its fighting style. So here it tries to snipe you with like waves of shots. Inside it scurries around on the ceiling and the walls, and it sends out spider minions to get you. By the way, you can totally farm for lives here, although there's not really any point since the game is almost over.
Those ones explode.
Yep, and those small ones in the background fire really tiny shots, which are really hard to see when you're focusing on where you're aiming. Yeah, I get hit right here. Boom. Yeah, try and take care of them as soon as possible because their shots are just really hard to see when you're like looking where you're aiming and not around your character.
Bullet hell problem number 1.
Meanwhile, the boss tries to hit you with these large electrified web things, but if you just focus on him, he's not really that much of a threat.
Also known as Spider Seeker. What the hell?
Seamer, by the way. This is the easiest part. He's just a core, and he fires off a lot of these little missile things which you can reflect back. You can actually kill this guy extremely fast if you just hit all of his missile things. Also, I want you to remember that the rest of the spider body exploded. Remember that, it's important.
Why is that important?
Because they're eating it right now. Also, the gun's a flamethrower.
Yeah, all of a sudden things were all messed up.
What?
What are we gonna do? This is Hokkaido, Ruffian Central. At least we won't go hungry. First, let's find a safer spot. Right.
I'd imagine eating crazy corruption monsters isn't really the best idea.
I wonder if Achi will follow us. Your instinct brought you here. I think she knows that. Yeah, there's a lot I want to ask Achi about this transformation. But Achi would... Let's Let's go to America, Saki. Have a doctor take care of it.
If a doctor can take care of it. If they dissect me, it's over. They're close by. They must be on that road. I'll check it out. Wait here.
You're tough, Saki.
Iron. Iron? Iron?
And so begins the final section of actual gameplay. In this level, you move left and right the same way you do through all the other levels, but the game doesn't automatically move you at all. In fact, this level is extremely difficult.
I'd imagine it's kind of hard to figure out where the hell everything is.
It really has two problems. It has the same problem that the rest of the game does, wherein it's very hard to like keep your eye on your character and where your aiming reticle at the same time. Except for here even more so, because normally you just kind of have to choose between about 3 lanes or so while moving forward. But here, since you control your character's entire direction, it becomes much more important. Additionally, this section is just really, really long. It's got 2 boss fights in it.
What's with
And
the crazy turtle missile things?
I don't know. Funnily enough, that roar that Saki heard in the cutscene, that is actually one of those things. They don't attack you, and they can't actually inflict any damage.
Oh.
Oh, by the way, here's a giant lizard man thing that shoots fire. And I was a bit overzealous in trying to get away from him. He's actually not that threatening. As you can see, after a while he'll breathe fire, and if you hit him with your sword, it'll knock his head away. Yeah, I was just focusing a little bit too hard on getting away, as opposed to worrying about getting shot.
Considering you could just, like, shoot him.
Yeah. Also, this is the point where I remember the dodge roll.
As I saw.
Yeah.
So those things earlier can't actually do anything to you. The turtle things.
Yeah, they only show up there. They don't show up ever again.
What's the point of even being threatened by them?
Also, these dragonflies can take an absurd amount of punishment from your gun. I think they might just be flat out invulnerable. If you hit them with your sword, it takes like 5 or 6 slices, and if you use these little like orbs, you can fire missiles from those. Unfortunately, the orbs run out after like 5 or 6 slices, so.
I can see why the previous segment was about farming for lives, because this part doesn't look very easy.
Nope. Also, spoiler alert, I don't kill this guy. This boss is kind of optional. Also, you can't kill those things. I tried.
You just did.
Except with your sword.
So you can just run the hell away from this guy.
And I do. This guy is invulnerable to gunfire, and he's invulnerable to swords. If I had to guess how you kill him, I'd say you probably need to use a one of the missile orb things that shows up right at the end, but I accidentally shot it. Yeah, there it is, right there. But if you don't kill him, he just leaves, so...
I like things like that. Where the enemy just sort of goes away.
Also, here's what happens if you run out of time. Watch my health. Entire health bar starts blinking red and going down really quickly. And if you don't make it to the next section, which refreshes your timer, you'll just die. Also, these things do tons of damage. They fire green shots in a spread pattern, and they are just awful. You can actually use the trees for cover, though.
I don't know how you play these sorts of games, man. Because some of the earlier segments didn't seem all that hard. Is that a jump cut?
Yes, that is absolutely a jump cut. The first time I did this, I was doing terrible. and the dragons just like killed me immediately. But yeah, this game, like, the difficulty is really harsh because the first part with Saki is actually not that hard at all, and then the part with Iron is challenging, but it's not like really frustrating, and then this part is just really, really hard. I mean, as you can see, I'm not very good at it. It's because, like, when I did play this game all the time, I played the first part tons, and then I'd play the second part a lot, and then I'd usually just quit and skip to the final boss. Also, here's the second boss. This is the Man-Seamer. I don't know. Doesn't make any more sense, but whatever. Super easy as soon as you remember that the sword can hit as long as you're, like, right next to him in terms of duty.
And it hits for a bajillion and a half damage.
Yep. Sword is so overpowered.
Why not just fire swords at people? That's my question.
It's like a lightsaber or something.
They hurl lightsabers at people. Oh wow, that does hit.
Yeah. Thankfully, though, game's pretty much over. These guys won't attack you. The big dragon thing is right there, and he won't attack you. And there's Achi. And now time for more story.
She's basically Alma. That's what I've learned.
So, you've finally come.
What have you done to Iron?
I put her to sleep is all.
Why are you doing this?
I was testing your feelings. Look at yourself. Half of you is refusing iron. That's why you look that way.
I'm not refusing her. Obviously, our hearts were growing closer. But in our hearts, there is still fear. There are still doubts. There are still places and feelings that can't be opened yet. We need more time to fully accept one another. We fought alongside you believing you would save humanity. But you're using us as weapons with a different goal in mind.
Uh-huh. You're still in training. You'll always be on the front line. That's useless.
Ow!
That's better.
Is this what works on you? Iron!
Saki?
Can you hold on to my heart?
Okay, so first things first, that whole holding on to my heart thing is actually really important for the sequel. Essentially, what it does in terms of story is it allows whoever to become the giant monster superform thing, but still remain cognizant of what they're doing. However, that's not really important right now. What is important is that
Killed by the very people that when I take its place, I will not make the same mistake. What I need is a god of war to rule the chaos for me. That's you, Saki. You must grow powerful for me. Powerful enough to rule a planet.
She's just replacing the Earth?
Invade?
Will she lead all humanity away?
What's best for me is all that matters.
Saki,
I understand. I am of this planet.
So here's the final boss. Bet you didn't expect to have a gunfight with the Earth.
You're not wrong.
There you go. Essentially, the only way to win here is just to reflect every projectile. Most of them can just be shot to send them back. The Earth has a huge health bar,
So
but near the end of this, she starts pulling out larger attacks, and they can just chunk the Earth. So, yeah, this whole thing, you're pretty much invulnerable. It's just how many like shots can you reflect back. The green one's split into, or the large green one's split into small green shots. The small green shots take one shot to remove. The meteor's pretty much the same thing. There are these ice storms that she summons later that you just shoot them a whole bunch. And the only other attack she has is these large flaming meteorites, which you need to hit with your sword. And beyond that, just try to do more damage to her.
What's that top hit health bar?
Oh, that's her health bar. Bottom health bar is the earth. If the earth runs out, you lose.
But you're shooting it.
Yes. Shooting it does a little bit of damage, but reflecting attacks does way more.
So you're invulnerable, but she's shooting at Earth.
Yes.
And you have to shoot
Her.
on the other Earth. This is weird.
Yes. She turns into the earth and then fights you, I guess. It doesn't really make any sense, and it's not really explained in the sequel. Also, she gives you like 1 billion points.
Yeah, that's quite a bit.
And then you get another bajillion points for beating the game.
So now we're just in cutscene mode?
Yep, that's the end.
The old Earth will die soon.
Enjoy the credits and the epilogue.
People fed.
Where's Achi?
She's gone, but she dragged us into it right up to the end. Japan's a mess. What are we gonna do now?
When I was little, I always wanted to be a cop. Do you think they'd hire me now?
Yeah, they would. You could kill all the ruffians yourself.
Not by myself, I couldn't. I'd need you to protect me.
Wanna take them on? Together?
Let's do it. At least that way we can have some fun.
What the hell did we just see?
That's sin and punishment. That's the whole thing.
There was no context to any of that. There was no explanation. I didn't... Brad. It was
Yeah,
Brad.
He was the guy with the white coat that like surfed on a jet.
I know, but there was him. I mean, that was a thing, and then... It was a weird game.
Yep. Still
So-
really fun though. When it was released on the Virtual Console, it got popular enough that they actually added Saki as an assist trophy in Super Smash Bros. Brawl.
Hmm.
And from there, popularity kind of exploded, and that's why we have a sequel. Despite the fact that no one played this one. Also, it was originally called Glass Soldier, although that doesn't matter at all anymore.
Because giant Digimon.
Yep.
Well, so, you think it's one that deserves to be preserved, or what?
Yes. Did you see it?
You and me are of very different opinions. I didn't understand what the hell was going on.
This is not a game you play for the story. It's kind of like Star Fox, where it's like the first time it's just for fun, and then every time after that is a score attack.
I played Star Fox. I enjoyed the story.
Congratulations, 1%.
You know me, I'm a story man. Well, these are certainly interesting. I'll give you that much. I can't say I've ever seen a game that fundamentally bizarre and just completely willing to hurl you into the action.
That said, if it did have a story, maybe it probably would have been really hard to get us to be surfing around on a chunk of like an airship or
Yeah.
not an airship, aircraft carrier.
I don't know, man. Bayonetta's got a story, and I've seen some pretty crazy shit with that.
Well, this did it on the N64, so
Valid point. Also, but some of that crazy stuff, it sort of does explain the time. They sort of sectioned away a lot of their memory budget with absurd things and lots of explosions and particle effects.
well, I mean, it worked. The game is only like 40 minutes long.
Yeah. She's just chilling in his chest.
Yep. It's never really made clear how the hell she gets out, but whatever.
It's also
This-
not. It's also
this-
not very clear how she's surviving in there.
The sequel happens, so apparently at some point they get together, have their child, and then other stuff happens that I can't spoil because sequel.
There's more stuff. There's more context going on the bottom portion of the screen and the text than there was during the entirety of the game.
Yeah. Just wait. Sequel's even crazier.